Well, friends, on behalf of KQHDA, I welcome all the people, those who are attending this program and those who are likely to come in very shortly. And this is India, Bangalore, the capital of Karnataka, with the minimum corona cases in entire India comparatively to other bigger states. We are able to fight corona. We are able to restrict the spread. Though it is spreading very fast, we are trying to put some brakes. And all homeopathic doctors, those who have served, given anti or immune boosters, the record is they have not contracted corona at all. So with this few words, I welcome for this webinar, international webinar, and I thank our president for getting in touch with so many international people. He himself is an international figure, getting in touch. We'll start. And if the president says, I'll start with the Shankhanada. Yes, sir. President, hand over to you, President. Dr. Sripad Hegdeji.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to welcome you all for this international webinar on the different topics. And a special welcome to our patron, Dr. B.D. Patel, very senior homeopathy practitioner, more than 40-45 years of experience, and our chairman, as well as all the office bearers and other members who has joined us. And special welcome to Dr. Dora Pachova, so from Bulgaria, she has joined us, and Dr. Khushali, Gambhir, today's speakers. Now I request our patron to inaugurate the session by making a Shankhanada.
Yes. Well, friends, those who do not know about this Shankhanada is, Shank will give you positive vibrations and restricts all the negative vibrations in the atmosphere. That is why Shankhu is blown. This is a sign of peace, as well as this is a sign of war. War on negative forces like corona and the creators of corona. Yes, President, sir.
Sir, please allow me to share the screen, sir.
Yes, sir. Allowed.
See, this is a positive vibration which creates by such a sound. We don't use as a noise. It's a sound actually which gives a positive vibration and which gives a very good positive aura in and around us. And that's what. Thank you very much, sir, for your
Kunch sound.
Yeah, this is the webinar, sir. We have started from the KQHDA. 3rd May, and then onwards is the small.
Sir, you can go slowly. You can go slowly, sir. Sripad Hegde, sir, slowly. People are not able to read.
Okay, we'll start slowly.
Yeah.
This is a small.
No, you can blow up. You can make it full screen.
Yeah.
Below it's there. Below this. Yes. Yeah.
This is a first webinar, almost like an international webinar with the CCRS director as well as scientific officer, and it went on well, and like that. So next we could able to make it on sulfuric acid, acetic acid, and picric acid by Dr. B.D. Patel sir and myself and Dr. Swami. And this is the 3rd one in the row where Dr. Kumar Dhavle and Dr. Manoj Patel from Mumbai, they were with us and we had a very good interactions. And after that, we had one more very interesting and a different webinar from our patron, Prevent Future Corona. It's a more interesting and informative. And after that, we had another international webinar on 31st May by Dr. Andre Sayane, as well as Dr. Dilip Dixit. We had a very interesting, informative, and elaborative sessions with these two stalwarts, very senior practitioners. And after that, we had one more webinar, the hospital management of COVID by Dr. Kavya as well as Parimal Joshi from Pune, the homeopathic management of COVID. The KQHD is imparting the knowledge of a homeopathic in a different fields from the different personalities from the different areas. And we had one more webinar on homeopathy in pediatric neurodevelopmental disorders by Dr. Madhuri Vaidyeshwar. And one more after that, where the first in the India, we started the COVID-19 treatment by Dr. Pradeep Kumar Gupta, and along with him, the followed by Dr. Farooq Motiwala. It was also an interesting and informative and encouraging session for the homeopaths to take up the COVID cases and treat. It was a well accepted by all. And after that, we had one more webinar on the retrospective learning in the clinical practice by the clinicians, Dr. Mamata and Dr. C.B. Matthew. Today, we are here. Our first speaker will be Dr. Dora Pachova, National Vice President, LMHI, Bulgaria. Our topic is physiological effects of the homeopathic remedies estimated by the heart rate variability. Another speaker, Dr. Khushali Gambhir. The topic is menopause transition, homeopathic management, a protocol. I request all of you to become a life members of KQHDA, get an opportunity to share clinical experiences, present cases. You can log in to our website to have a look. See, this will be coming. Please mute yourself during the session. For better audio and clarity of the session, please don't make any unnecessary coverings. Now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Madam Dr. Dora Pachova. Is a medical doctor with more than 26 years of experience in homeopathy. She has master degree in homeopathic therapy and a master degree in psychology. She is a founder and director of Center for Health and Education, Edicta, and Homeopathic School, Edicta. She teaches homeopathy since 24 years in Bulgaria, last 9 years in Macedonia and in Turkey at Medipol University. Since 2012, Dr. Pachova participates as a homeopathic physician in a research project of Sofia University, Physiology Department, measuring effect of homeopathic remedies with heart rate variability tests. One of her fields of interest is homeopathy and family dynamics, about which she has published articles in the journals Homeopathic Heritage International 2008 and National Journal of Homeopathy in India 2012, interviews and articles in Bulgarian media, lectures to general practitioner and general public are among her activities every year. Bulgarian journal Business Lady has appointed Dr. Dora Pachova as one of 12 top women in Bulgarian healthcare for 2016. This is big appreciation for homeopathy in Bulgaria as a whole. Give her a big hand. Dr. Pachova is chairperson of the Association of Homeopathic Physicians in Bulgaria. Since 2002, she is national vice president for Bulgaria in Liga Medicorum Homeopathica Internationalis, and since 2013, a member of Working Group Education in LMHI. Since 2016, she is education coordinator for European Committee for Homeopathy. See, out of all these things, I would like to say that she is a lovely lady with always smiling face and encouraging, and carries a positive vibration with her to give a health to others. This is how she has actually, we met in Sorrento, a lovely, beautiful city of Italy near Naples. You know, it is God's own country, I can say. There in the Liga International Homeopathic Conference, we met each other, and I could able to talk to her, and we could able to make a very good relationship, friendship, and I was requesting her to share her experience, because this is a rare research no one has done in the homeopathic field, as I believe. and this is very interesting and informative. Please, madam, I hope you will present your experiences and knowledge and will share the session. We will welcome you once again.
Thank you.
Sir, allow her to share her screen, sir.
Yeah. I'm doing it.
You can start, madam.
She can share.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a great opportunity for me, and also it's very heart-touching experience because I really love your country and have been many times. So homeopathy and India are my love.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So now I will share with you our work on heart rate variability methods and how it helps us to understand the patients and the effect of the homeopathic medicines. And as you see, this is a project which we started with the physiology chair of the Sofia University. And we had a core team and some students helping us all over the years. My task as a homeopath was to provide the patients and the conditions to do the tests. And the people from the physiology chair, they did the heart rate variability tests.
Dr. Dora, can you blow up the presentation?
Yes, now I'm doing.
Yeah. Yes, that's better.
Yes. So you already understood about my spheres of interest. And one of the things I want to start with is the message that we are all connected. Doesn't matter how big is the distance between us. I'm in Bulgaria, you are in India, but we are all connected. And there is a very nice proverb saying this, you cannot steer a flower without troubling a star, by Francis Thompson. Why I begin with it? Because maybe you don't feel it in India because you have been much advanced in integrating ancient and contemporary knowledge, but in the Western world, it's a kind of new knowledge, new hope for the medical world to integrate ancient and contemporary knowledge together. And we speak about the integrity in nature and in science and in the world as a whole. One of the examples of this integrity are the fractals. They are the best examples of integrity in nature. And we have a lot of examples in biology and especially in human body. You can see the structure of the lungs is a example of fractals. The capillary nets of our body is a fractal structure. You can see here the different images of these fractals. Why we speak about this? Because in our body, there are many patterns of response which are repeated at different levels, from the higher consciousness to the cellular and subcellular level. And understanding the fractals, we can understand much better how the homeopathic remedy really acts on our body. A person who was in Sorrento, those who are there will remember, and who has written a lot about the unity of life and the unity in the human body is Friedrich Capra. He is a physicist, And he has published recently a unifying conception on mind, matter, and life. His last book is called The System View of Life. And it shows the processes which are going in the world in the last 30 years. A new systemic understanding of life has emerged in the forefront of science. It integrates 4 dimensions of life: biological, cognitive, social, and ecological dimensions. And at the core of this new understanding, we find a fundamental change
Dr.
of the
Dora, your
metaphors.
voice is echoing. Your voice is echoing. Dora?
Yes, yes, but
Your
I
voice
don't
is
know
echoing.
what, maybe to talk slower or?
Little bit come closer and see that no voices are there. No other operating, no other system is open. Only Zoom meeting, then the voice becomes clear. And close other things.
Yes, I think I have. Just a second.
Because the presentation is very good, but the voice is echoing.
Alan, I will try to take a mic.
Okay, okay, okay.
Maybe it will be better.
Yeah, let's see.
Dr. Ramanand and Dr. Ritu Manchanda, please mute yourself. Dr. Ramanand and Dr. Ritu Manchanda, disturbance is from your side.
Okay, let's try now.
Yeah, continue, madam.
And now it is better.
But I don't see my screen. Ah, okay. So I was talking about Bridge of Capra and his understanding about the life in a new way.
I am trying to mute you for some time, Dora, and then you can just open it up. Yeah. Now you open it up. Yeah. Now you can speak, Dora. All are
Yes.
muted. Yeah.
Okay. Scientists were viewing the world as a machine, trying to split all the processes to small and easily understood linear processes. But actually, we cannot understand life in a linear way. And it's a shifting in the paradigm, and we have to understand the world as a network. And in the last years, it's easier for us, providing we have all these internet facilities, to understand how all this functions. One of the most radical philosophical implication of the system view of life, which Bridge of Capra presented, is the new concept of mind and consciousness, which is overcoming the Cartesian division between mind and matter. Since many years, especially in the Western world, mind and matter were always regarded as separate issues, and even religion was putting them in contradiction. Like the body is a matter and it is a sin, and the spirit is only the holy thing. But of course, we cannot anymore stay in this division. We have to understand that mind and consciousness and body, everything is one and the same net, and everything is functioning as a whole. And we as homeopaths know this because our great teacher and the founder of our science, Dr. Hahnemann, has already given this in the Organon of Medicine in the 15th paragraph. I will not read the whole text because most of you, all of you know it, but he says there that for just for convenience and for easy comprehension, we split and we speak separate about mind and body, but in fact, they cannot be separated. What modern science and modern physics say is that the defining characteristic of all living networks is that they are self-generating. It means that the function of each component in the network is to transform and replace other components, including those of the cell membrane. Living systems continually create or recreate themselves by transforming or replacing their components. In this way, they undergo continual structural changes while preserving their web-like pattern of organization. And the most important conclusion out of this, and why I'm speaking about all these issues, is that the coexisting stability and change is indeed one of the key characteristics of life. And heart rate variability actually is a method which can visualize this coexisting stability and change, and it gives us new type of information about how human body functions and what our homeopathic medicines are registering as effect on the system, on the organism. We have also to emphasize that one of the central characteristics of biological life is the metabolism. And we have to understand metabolism in two aspects. One is the continuous flow of energy and matter. And the second one, the network of chemical reactions that form the basis of biological structures, functions, and behavior. And the emphasis here is on the word network, because one of the most important insights of the systemic understanding of life is the recognition that network is the basic pattern of organization in all living systems. Wherever we see life, we see networks. And we have to start seeing the human body and the human organism as a system of interdependent and interconnected nets. And we have finally to help, excuse me for that word, to the great science, medical science, to understand that the man is not a linear system. And we have to start understanding and working in a new way. We homeopaths, we are working in the new way. The good thing is that in official medical journals, we already have articles talking about chaos theory, complex theory, non-linear modeling, systemic thinking, because medicine has to shift from a linear understanding of the processes to a non-linear understanding. Many of the allopathic drugs are created with the idea of a linear process. We create a molecule, it will go at a certain place, it will connect certain receptor, and there will be such change. But this is a linear process. This will happen, but at the same time, we know that there are n number of side effects of this molecule when it's in the human body. In the official medicine, it's called side effects. We can call it non-linear systemic effects in the human body. That's why the new medical knowledge has to be based on chaos theory and complex theory, non-linear modeling. I hope many of you know, and this wonderful lady, Dr. Iris Bell, who is Director of Research of the Center for Integrative Medicine at the University of Arizona College of Medicine, and she is also psychiatrist and homeopath. I follow her since many years, and she presented at one of the Liga Congresses in 2010 a paper, Non-Linear Complex Systems Model for Remedy Action in Living Systems. What she emphasized there is that living systems are complex, adaptive systems. They are indivisible, interactive, interdependent networks. And this is very important to remember. She also says that life occurs in the delicate dynamic balance between excessive order and excessive disorder, chaos. So life could be regarded as optimum complexity. You can see the pictures below. Left side, we have the chaos. Right side, we have full neat order. But many times life is just optimum complexity. Age and disease lead to loss of complexity of our system. It means with the aging and with the diseases, we begin to lose our full capacities. So we become more rigid and not adaptive. While on the other side, healing and recovery are helping us to become again flexible, adaptable. So it is helping us to work at a higher level of complexity, and with more energy and with higher variability. It means our systems, our bodies will be able to react to more stimulus and to be able to answer to this stimulus. What is the connection with the homeopathic remedy? A remedy is triggering dynamic destabilization of the complex system. When we give the remedy, we give the stimulus and it causes a dynamic destabilization. The effect of the remedy will be a result of the sensitivity of the system. If the remedy is therapeutic, the system will restabilize in a new and healthier dynamic pattern. If the remedy is not therapeutic, the system will return to its previous dysfunctional pattern. The optimal functioning of the organism is as a system can be described as fluctuations around specific states and conditions. So the medical terms are variability and liability. As I said, when we are healthy, we are very flexible. All our systems react in a normal way to all the changes in the mental, emotional, physical plane, environmental conditions. So there is high variability of our reactions. If we are ill, variability goes down. Heart rate is, yes? Heart rate depends on the work of the autonomous nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic. And these two parts of the autonomic nervous system are constantly working, trying to keep a balance, but in many diseased conditions, we actually lose the balance. The parasympathetic effects on the heart define the variability bit for bit. It is called high frequency variability, HF. You may remember HF because we will mention it many times later. While the sympathetic effects on the heart are slower because they go through a slower synaptic mediation, and they are called low frequency variability, LF. What is the physiological significance of this heart rate variability? If the heart rate variability is low, it signs a bad functional state and is connected with the increased illness and death. Unbalanced heart rate variability with prevalence of sympathicus is a sign of decreased dynamic adaptability, sign of bad health, and great number of pathological conditions. You see here two diagrams. They are from one of the tests, so you will see them later again. But this is the situation before treatment, where we have this low heart variability, 82%, and high frequency variability is only 18%. And you see after the remedy how better the balance between the two parts of the autonomous nervous system is. We know that the heart rate is actually reacting to a number of conditions. It reacts to our thoughts, it reacts to our emotions, it reacts to our physical activity, it reacts to the environmental changes. So any stress, positive or negative, will have effects over the heart rate. The key system which is activated under stress includes the cortical and subcortical neural structures, the autonomous nervous system, and the endocrine system. And the autonomic centers of the brainstem are controlled by the hindbrain cortex and by the hypothalamus. Here on the left, the lower part, you can see the parasympathetic action. And it's also to understand homeopathic cases from that perspective, it's important to remember that parasympathetic action over the heart and over our body is rest and digest, while sympathetic action is fight or flight. So one is suppressing and calming. Calming is a better word than suppressing from homeopathic, for homeopathic mind. Calming. The other is rising, arousing the pulse. There is a structure in the brain called prefrontal brain cortex, which regulates cognitive, sensual, emotional, and vegetative functions including the heart rate of the person. But the same structure, this prefrontal cortex, actually represents our thoughts, the inner speech of our consciousness, and it regulates our emotions and behavior according to our set goals and values, our moral also, or spiritual attitude. Why we speak about the prefrontal cortex? Because somatization of negative effects and mental stress is due to that structure. One and the same structure, the prefrontal cortex, is responsible for the vegetative reactions, but also for the emotional and for the cognitive regulation. And actually, this is the way, this is how the stress from the higher levels, if we can call them like that, goes into the body, causing physical effects. I have given you here an example of one of my patients who is 8 years old boy with no control over emotions and behavior, with selective mutism, cannot read and write, constantly trying to injure, and he is not trying, he's injuring his sister, hatred, and no control at all. We did a special tests. Recently, we have a colleague in our center who is doing this Loretta tests, which is an EEG-based neuroimaging technique. And let's say, for you to understand, the green is the normal color, should be the normal color, but you see how big parts of the brain are really silent, blue, they are not working. And here we have few areas of the brain which are hyperactive, but lack of balance is obvious. And the prefrontal cortex, which is here at that part, is also silent, so he doesn't have any control over his animal instincts. So he's biting, he's trying to kill the sister, and he's really very difficult to get any response also to homeopathic remedies. We had to do some other stimulating, and we had to change the approach, homeopathic approach, in order to help him. Now he's talking better, and selective mutism is overcame. It means he is able to talk to people and to children at school and to teachers. And before that, he was talking only with the mother, not with anybody else. But still, this is showing that when the prefrontal cortex doesn't work, it's very difficult to control the behavior. And the prefrontal cortex is also controlling the heart rate. So it is, it can be viewed as a major component of neurocognitive network, where our complex behavior is organized. This is a schema, and now we continue with the test. The this is the hierarchical work in the brain. The prefrontal cortex is controlling the amygdala, is controlling the autonomous nervous system, and actually the autonomous nervous system is the connection between the high nervous functions and the physical body. And it is the biological path of somatization, which explains why homeopaths pay more attention to mind and get better results with chronic cases with constitutional remedies. So one of the few objective ways to measure the function of the autonomous nervous system is the heart rate variability. This is a very nice also picture showing that the autonomic basis of the connection body, mind, and consciousness is actually here, the forebrain or the prefrontal cortex. And here you have the listed 9 most important functions: empathy, insight, response, flexibility, emotional regulation, body regulation, morality, intuition, communication, and fear modulation. And here you see the connection with the limbic brain, where our reaction is formed, so to say, flight, fight, or freeze response. And the answer of the question, am I safe? And also all our emotions. So this is the theoretical basis of our study. What we have done is the chair of physiology of the Sofia University had this equipment for measuring the heart rate variability. And we decided to check the immediate effects of the homeopathic remedy over this heart rate variability. So the structure of our study, the methodology, was that I was doing the homeopathic interview and prescribing individually chosen remedy. The patient was asked to fill a set of psychological questionnaires and had a session with the psychologist. Then he was asked to lie and relax in a quiet room before the test starts. And the first measurement of the heart rate variability test was done. After 10 minutes after that, after the first test, he was getting his homeopathic remedy, didn't move, doesn't talk. So we were trying to exclude all external influences. And 10 minutes after the intake of the homeopathic remedy, a new test of heart rate variability was done. So we wanted to see, is there a change in the heart rate variability after the administration of the homeopathic remedy? The heart rate variability test, you may say, looks like a 5 minutes long electrocardiography, but the computer system is actually extrapolating many other data from that 5 minutes long ECG. After this whole records were collected, all artifacts or extrasystoles were removed from the records by the operator. So we have similar data to compare. Our group of study was 15 patients, age range from 7 to 65. And we focused on these high frequency fluctuations, which are the rapid fluctuations of the heart rate, the parasympathicus, and the low frequency fluctuations, the sympathicus, because the test is giving a lot more data. You will see in the graphs RR and N, which is the R to R interval in the electrocardiogram. And the main thing we have been following is the total power. It means how this is a cumulative result given by the system, by the machine, which is telling us what is the total variability of the person, but it includes not only the sympathicus and parasympathicus, it includes also the hormonal responses, it includes the circadian rhythms. So it gives us a holistic picture of the situation, of the condition of the organism. And we had the placebo group. So results were statistically assessed, and values of P less than 0.05 were considered to indicate statistical significance. This is the graph about the potencies we have used. If you ask me why, it was my initial idea to try to work with, to have a bigger group with the same potency, so we can initially understand the process. And now, of course, I hope to have time and ability to make more tests with different potencies. So you see here that 84% or 42 of the patients got single dose of 200 CH. So wherever it was possible and not contraindicated for the patient, I was choosing 200. And the rest, we have 1M, 30 CH for patients, and 2 with LMs. And we also did a test. One of our colleagues in the center decided to choose for himself a dissimilar remedy. And he chose Platina because he was convinced he is not Platina. And we have done measures before taking the Platina and after that, and we really saw that the total power or his whole body went into a less functional and less energy state, which was an interesting experiment. This is how the test parameters look like. The first one, TP, is the so-called total power. As I told you, it's the total variability, the flexibility of the organism, but also all daily cycles, how the organism functions, and the effects of the hormones, all is there. So we have the control. This is before the remedy, and then after the remedy. This is a particular test. It doesn't mean that we have given Baraita to everybody. It's a particular test. I just put it because it's very, it's good to see on a praxis. So if we see total power was 5,500, and after the remedy, it is more than 2 times increased. So it means this remedy had really very good effect on that organism. And we see here increase in the lower and increase in the higher frequencies, which initially, if you say, oh, there is increase in the lower frequencies, this is not good. But this is not so simple. It's not linear. We see here increase of the 2, but we see also that we have better relationship between lower and higher frequencies. And this is dysfunctional, and this is much better functional state of the organism. Here you can see the rhythmograms. The rhythmograms are showing all the rhythms and vibrations which happen at a certain period of time in the human body. And this example is very good to see how our flexibility and adaptability and variability goes down with the age. See the group of young patients at the upper part, and see what's happening at the lower. So it's inevitable, but still we can do a lot of things to keep our bodies in a much better functional state. As I told you, we did also psychological studies, and all patients above 18 years were asked to fill tests standardized for Bulgaria: anxiety exam tests, stress levels, and choice of coping, and Ginsen test. And you will see the results. Initial psychological tests, it means before homeopathic treatment. These 50 people, 41% with moderate form of anxiety and tendency to anxiety. 34% had no problems with the psychic, and 25% had already a form of anxiety or depression. The biggest group have more or less tendency, but not really, you cannot put a diagnosis to them. Now I want to give you some examples from these 50 cases. The first one you see here is a 66-year-old man with chronic cardiac failure, with anxieties and fears. And when he came to me, the remedy I prescribed was Arsenicum album. It speaks you a lot. No need to explain. The psychological tests, you see he has 44 points of fear and depression, and because it's interesting to say that he got rheumatic disease at the age of 19, and his father died of heart failure at a young age, and he was put in the matrix that he will also die at an early age. And he went through all very difficult stages of adapting to the disease. But finally, before meeting me, he understood that it's his own responsibility to take care about his life. And he started to live in a very reasonable way, doing sport every day, not overeating and so on, and was keeping well. But of course, at the age of 63, 4, 5, there were symptoms saying that he's not anymore in such a perfect state. So he began to be again fearful and depressed. The remedy helped him to decrease the anxiety, and finally to take it away. And psychological tests have shown that he is again active, searching solutions, planning for good, has positive attitude towards coping with difficult situations. And his heart rate tests were really showing a very good improvement in the total power. It means he regained again his energy. The second case is of a lady of 44 years with hyperthyroidism and anxiety. And she came because she wanted to stop the medication for the hyperthyroidism and to try to conceive. There were a lot of psychological dramas there because, and frustrating issues. The man she was living with was hesitating to marry, not to marry, and so on. And due to the homeopathic treatment, she managed to solve the psychological issues, to stop the medicines to stop the metizol, and the thyroid hormones went to normal. But of course, at that age is not very probable to conceive. So she was having very good results, physiological, I mean, HRV tests, laboratory tests. But of course, after the third test we did was after she went to a gynecologist who said her that most probably she will be not able to conceive, and she was of course upset. The third case, and you see her results, you will see later. The third test was of a lady 25 years old who was for a long time in a stuck situation, couldn't take decision, hesitating to take decision, afraid of taking decision what to do with her life. She already finished one master degree, but was not sure that this is what she wants to do in her life. So the question was to study something else, or to start working, or to do a PhD. And she was very insecure and couldn't move in life. And she had also metabolic syndrome, obesity. The homeopathic remedy which I have chosen for her was baryta carp. And here you can see the rhythmograms. See here this line, and see here this line. See the amplitude, it's much bigger. It means the variability, the reactivity of the organism improved. We can also see the numbers, the total power, which is showing if the organism is in a better functional state with more energy or is going down. The total power test was increased more than 2 times. And so we see here increased low frequencies, which we in general say are not good, but these are the sympathicus is responsible for the reaction fight or flight. And if it doesn't work, you stay stuck. And the parasympathicus, which is for rest and digest, was overpowering the whole system, was too domineering. And so she was stuck. After giving the remedy, we managed to bring better balance in the system. And here you can see the amplitude scale. At first glance, you may say that here it is better and here not, but just see the amplitude scale is different. You see here is 50, 100, 150, and here it is 0, 200, 400. So here is much, much better, but the computer couldn't present it in a small graph, and that's why it changed the amplitude scale. You see, this is 200, almost 300. And here at 300, we don't have anything. I hope you got this. And you will see this in the other tests. For the presentation, when you see these spectrograms, always see the amplitude when you compare. Here you see again the releasing of the action of the sympathicus. So it starts functioning better. And the parasympathicus is not so overpowering the system. Because when it's overpowering, you rest and digest, stay, don't work, don't move, don't do changes. And in particularly in her case, this was not the good. So our homeopathic remedy helps really to adapt to, it is doing what is really reasonable and good for the individual patient. The next case is a female, 57-year-old. She came in our clinic after acute stress in the night. Her son got an epileptic seizure and she was really very frightened. She had aconite at home and already took some doses, 2 doses. But I asked her to do a test and to see, will there be change if she takes 1 more dose? So here are the rhythmograms. The scale here is the same. This is after 2 doses of aconite, and this is after the 3rd dose of aconite. And we see that we again have increased variability. And here we have her results, which is decreased sympathicus and decreased ratio sympathicus-parasympathicus, which is which means better general state. These are the rhythmograms. Again, the amplitude is, the scale is different. This is double. Here we have 40, and here we have like 70, 65. Here we have 22. Here there is not much change in this, but in this green one, which is actually the total power with all the other influences, we see the improvement of the amplitude, which means that she adapted and the aconite helped her to come in a better functional state. And here you see the difference, not very big one, because she already has taken in the night 2 doses of aconite. And this is the result after the 3rd one. And one more case, a lady, 51, with a very difficult family, heavy family history. She was taking care about her sister with Down syndrome and mother with dementia and other relatives. And she had a lot of communication issues in the society. And she was feeling extremely angry, humiliated, and reacted to that with outbursts of cough, suffocation, and vomiting. And she was drinking like 2 liters of beer every day. So she came in a really desperate condition. The rhythmogram before and after the staphysagria, you can see. There is very significant change. You can see the numbers. The total power also increased, almost double. So her overall variability increased, and the activity of the sympathicus and parasympathicus also balanced. And the parasympathicus, which was, so we have again increase in the low frequencies and the high frequencies. And we see the balancing effect of the, it's the most confusing could be that we could expect always lowering of the sympathicus and increasing of the parasympathicus, but it is not so simple, because for some people this is not the good. Normally we say the parasympathicus is calming the heart rate, the heart, so it brings longer life to the heart, because it will function in a more calm way. But as you see from these examples, it's not always so easy. Sometimes you need to stimulate the organism in a certain way to regain its vital energy and become in a better functional state. So here you see the rhythmograms. Again, this is this scale and this scale are different. Here, this is almost 300, and here the maximum is like 60, 70. And this is the total power here with all, as I said, the whole, like measuring the vital force. Excuse me, I don't pretend that we measure it, but similar to that. And you see here, it is less than 30, and here it is almost 1000, the amplitude. It means the body has more energy to produce changes and to be flexible in reaction to all kind of environmental and internal stimulus. Here you see again the balancing effect of the remedy staphysagria. The same lady came another time, after some time, to me, and she was having complaining of constriction in the chest, tension in the solar plexus. All this happened after she went to a Buddhistic she was studying. And at that seminar, she decided, we don't know what the lecturer was saying, but she started to feel extremely guilty. And she started to believe that she is punished by the providence and that she deserves her heavy destiny because of karma and past mistakes. And I have given her the remedy Kalium Brumatum 200C. Now you see the reaction. Here the rhythmogram is better, after the remedy not so good. And we have decreased total power, decreased low frequencies, decreased high frequencies. And she phoned and said, I don't feel well. I'm trying over, I become extremely sensitive. I'm crying for every trifle, noise, picture, colors. But the tension in the solar plexus disappeared. What is the, how we can discuss this reaction? My thinking, it has to be proved with many cases. It could be an example of healing crisis. When we give a deep acting remedy and it starts to destroy the disease patterns, we know the patient goes through the healing crisis, and the healing crisis is not a state of feeling very well, because there is a internal chaos. Or the second action is that it was the wrong remedy. Because if we take only the first hypothesis, it means that all other patients in this study didn't get a remedy, the right remedy. But it's not so, because the follow-ups and all the tests show that they have improved. It means that the healing crisis, if it was present, came later. It was not immediately after the intake of the remedy. So many questions new could be raised after this study. You see the spectrograms here?
Madam?
Yes?
Yeah, another 5 minutes, you conclude.
Yes, I finish. I finish. And here are her tests. So the total outcome of our study, we wanted first to understand, is there immediate reaction after the remedy? And in 98% of these 50 cases, we had immediate reaction. We were able to measure it. In 76%, it was immediately increased total power or heart rate variability. In 22%, it was initially decreased, and 2% no change. What is the reason? We can discuss. The psychological tests, which were done 1 month later, have shown improvement of the mental condition. You see the lila bar. And this is the final graph, which is with all the tests. Before the homeopathic remedy is the white column, and the brick one is after. So in the total, in all the patients, the general outcome is that we have increased variability. It means better functional state. This is the same work with the placebo control group, which we presented in Sorrento. I already said you that this study may raise many questions.
Yeah, thank you, madam.
And the conclusions that these effects, the homeopathic remedy is having balancing effect. Patients are feeling more confident because they see visualization of what is done, and these measures can be used for further research in many countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's a very elaborative research work. I think you have done a very good job. I think you have taken much time, and I think if any questions are there, they will put it in the chat, and we will ask at the end of the session. Now we will go for the second speaker. Sir, please, sir, please allow me to share screen.
Yes, sir. Yeah, allowed. You can share it now.
Yeah, we have a next speaker, another young and dynamic lady with us, Dr. Khushali P. Gambhir, hailing from a lineage of doctors. He's a homeopathic physician who has been practicing in Chennai for last 24 years. Her focus has been immunity at childhood and through midlife. Her experience in treating various disorders in pediatrics, gynecology, menopause, endocrine disorders like diabetes, thyroid dysfunctions, and dermatology, neurology, orthopedics, and psychiatry has won her acclaim and enhanced her practice. She did a study in menstrual disorders for her post-graduation. More than 27 years of practicing experience at Chennai. She has actually trained in mental health, first aid in 2018, completed her fellowship in clinical nutrition in 2019 at Med University, and completed fundamentals of immunology in Harvard on Medical School 2020. She has been given many national and international presentations. To mention one or two: successful homeopathic management of benign menstrual disorders, Indian Homeopathic Medical League, and utility of concomitants in treating benign menstrual disorders, Liga Homeopathy in public health in 2009. And there are so many other Ayush and so many other programs at the regional as well as all over India level. She has presented and acted as a moderator. A very interesting paper she has presented at an attempt to create a basic protocol for menopause transition in LMHI International Homeopathic Conference, Sorrento, Italy, September 2019. I think where I met her first time, and I thought she could able to do so many things. Very interesting thing that even at the February 2020 in Bangalore, I met her. She came to present her paper on evaluation the role of homeopathy in managing mental health through menopause transition. This is a very interesting conference. It was actually organized by the all allopathic gynecologists, and she was a part of that. And she has been recognized by them, and she could able to convince the efficacy of homeopathy with these allopathic doctors. That is the specialty of Dr. Khushali Gambhir. She is with us today. Madam, we expect, I think, there are so much experience with the interacting with the gynecologist as well as so many gynecological cases. A very interesting and another research personality with us, Dr. Khushali Gambhir. Please, madam. Sir, avrigalo medis.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hegde. That's such a lovely introduction and my privilege to be here on this forum. And let me start with my screen shares. Yes. So good afternoon or good evening, everyone. It's a lovely Sunday and a great topic, my favorite topic today. After a brilliant lecture by Dr. Dora, and I hope this is giving you a hardcore clinical perspective. So first and foremost, menopause. When we come to menopause, menopause is not a new subject, but here's the thought process: is why is there even a need for a protocol for menopause transition? So we all know that menopause is the loss of fertility, but more important, it is the onset of aging and non-communicable disorders. As a definition, menopause is 12 consecutive months of amenorrhea. The menopause transition or the climactic phase is a phase of a multitude of symptoms, some of which are functional and some with advanced pathology. It is also a phase of mixed miasms, but yes, the psoric manifestations are very characteristic, surely due to hypersensitivity. Lifestyle and environment, I think we are all very familiar, that leads to the evolution and maintenance of the symptoms. And menopause distress can be both miasmatic as well as non-miasmatic, but if left untreated, the symptoms become worse. What's very interesting and clinically, in your clinic, what is very important and interesting is it is a menopause transition is a different experience for every woman, and even for the same woman, each month can be a different transition throughout this whole menopause transition period. A protocol is a method by which we could follow to control a certain disease. And thus it is very important and imperative that in the early stage, this polluted soil needs to be rectified with either anti-miasmatic treatment if required, and basically ensure a trouble-free transition. So when I did this study stems sheerly out of curiosity. So I wanted to see what was the scope and limitation of creating a protocol for menopause transition. Why? Because it is a phase of high variability of symptoms and a lot of suffering, and quick intervention is needed through few drugs capable of covering most symptoms and concomitants. Also, an important parameter here was that you have to recognize the important parameters and check their progress through homeopathy. Like few parameters like the endometrial thickness, stress, insomnia, vasomotor flushes are all visible so early in the menopause transition phase. Some of the key parameters are, we have to ensure that the endometrial thickness is less than 5 mm pre-menopause, and post-menopause it needs to be less than 4 mm. Various conditions crop up at this time like PCOS, ovarian cysts, cervical erosion, hypertension, diabetes, hypothyroidism, metabolic syndrome. Many things come up. Mental health is extremely important at this phase. It is important to prevent anemia, so it's important to keep the bleeding under check. Urogenital health, something that is rarely spoken, but stress and urge incontinence crops up now. Hemorrhoids, fissure in ano, leukorrhea, vulval itching, and then the cervical erosions, etc. come up. Bone health, the osteoporosis and prevention of injuries is a very important factor. And trust me, in the clinical setting, this prevention of injuries plays a very active role, because when the obesity starts coming in, the woman wants to lose weight. She goes on a crash diet. She starts exercising heavily with weights, and the first round of injuries can actually happen. So the concept between the formation of a protocol. I think the current environment, we've heard the word genus epidemicus tremendously. We're all familiar with it. Even the layperson, I think, is now very familiar with genus epidemicus. And the other common structure for us is the concomitants. So aphorism 101 and 102 of Organon speaks of the genus epidemicus for acutes. But when you go to aphorism 103 and 104, this gives an insight on the collective phenomenon of a disease and the sora, and identifying homeopathic drugs for the same. So it's a collective phenomenon that is studied. Concomitants, as we all know, are very characteristic symptoms, and in that, mental concomitants are the best concomitants, and more so if they are newly present. So now, if I have to combine aphorisms 103 and the concomitants, so the Indian Menopause Society has their clinical practice guidelines. Now, these guidelines state that the vasomotor, urogenital, and the menstrual irregularities are all connected and linked with estrogen levels. But look at the list of other symptoms: muscle joint pains, vertigo, palpitation, mood changes, nervousness, formications, insomnia. All of this is associated with menopause, but they do not correlate to estrogen levels. So see our soil and our scope over here. So the biology and symptomatology of menopause is definitely blurred because of its relationship to the underlying aging process. So new symptoms are present in this phase. May I continue? New symptoms are present in this phase. Mental symptoms are widely present, and they become a very good concomitant.
Dr. Khushali, just wait. Somebody is talking at the back.
Dr. Sandhya,
Sure,
Dr.
yeah, I'll
Sandhya,
wait.
please. Dr.
you
Sandhya,
move?
please mute.
Yeah, can mute all. I'm muting all. Yeah. Dr. Khushali, you can talk now.
So see, this phase has a lot of new symptoms. Mental symptoms especially become widely present and create good concomitants. Aphorism 103, which talks of sora, is a wide range of symptoms and is seen over a large number of individual cases. So a large range of medicines were created to help these. So also menopause transition. is a wide variety of symptoms, and each becomes a concomitant to the other. So the intensity of the symptom will qualify this. My case descriptions will highlight this factor. So the materials, methods, and limitations. As I said, this was a very simple study, really out of curiosity. I chose 150 cases just to see what were the common presentations, and took 5 of the most common presentations that were seen. Further, 30 cases of those 5 common presentations were further studied. So my inclusion criteria was women whose age was between 40 to 60 years, that is the years of midlife. Exclusion criteria was anyone with suspicious or confirmed malignancy. Observation time was they were followed up for around 30 to 60 days, but for at least around 10 follow-ups. Investigations, wherever possible, investigations were done. And of course, all were guided on diet and regimen and educated about the importance of lifestyle and diet. Limitations were, as I said earlier, this was done to assess the most frequent presentations that were coming up for menopause and their response to a group of remedies. There was no control group. Some patients did not follow up with investigations. Some patients wished to discontinue the treatment once their presenting complaints were better. Standardized questionnaires were not used for all cases. So I'm going to start off with some of the case descriptions. The first case is that of hot flushes. So she's 52 years old. She presented with hot flushes and palpitations followed by sudden coldness and perspiration, especially around the waist and below. And she would get very irritable with hot flushes. Since 2 years, there was irregular menstruation, and her last menstrual cycle was January 25th, 2017. She met me in March 2017. She also had sleep disturbances due to frequency of micturition in the night. Certain ancillary complaints were present, like bloating and weight gain, and she was already on statins. She had a family history of diabetes. Her mother went through a hysterectomy, and her mind was, she was very anxious on small things and restless, always in a hurry, and will bottle up her emotions. Now, her follow-ups are very interesting. She was given amyl nitrosum 30 twice a day for a month. Just because of her age, 52, I suggested we do an ultrasound. Everything was under control. She did it. Her endometrial thickness was 3 mm. But what we saw is, after giving her amyl nitrosum, on 13/4, she developed her menstrual cycles, and then the hot flushes disappeared. On 17th of August, again, she met me with same hot flushes and burning. Same amyl nitrosum was given, developed her menstrual cycle in September, and no more hot flushes. January 18, again, hot flushes. She was not sure if she had a menstrual cycle in October 2017. But anyway, the medicine was, again, amyl nitrosum on 2nd Jan, and on 27 Jan, again, she developed her menstrual cycle and no hot flushes. 16th of July, again, hot flushes and palpitation. She was under a lot of stress because of the family wedding of her own son, and which was scheduled for December, and her sleep was very poor. So she was maintained on amyl nitrosum 30 because she refused to get off it. She said, till the wedding is over, she's not going to stop. And her hot flushes were better, but they did not go till September. She developed a menstrual cycle. Thereafter, again in February, same prescription. She was better, but this time there was no menstrual cycle. In March 2019, her hot flushes were better and her sleep was better. However, she felt very depressed and felt like crying. So she was treated with Pulsatilla 30 twice a day. So this again, I show the same woman can have different symptoms through the transition period. So no more hot flushes after, and no further menstrual cycles after September 2018. Sleep is fine. Again, May 2019, an she met her gynecologist who did all the tests. Endometrial thickness was 2 mm, which is well within the safe zone. So these are some basic references for amyl nitrosum, where we see that amyl nitrosum had covered the hot flushes and the hot flushing, especially during the climacteric phase. There are beautiful materia medica references in Boric, as well as in the red line symptoms and keynotes by Adolphe. And what we really noticed is what was beautifully seen in this particular case was every time the medicine was administered, there was relief to the patient. She developed a menstrual cycle. There was relief. It prevented endometrial thickening, which can happen very easily during this phase, and facilitated the smooth and uneventful transition through menopause. This is what we need to do. This is our scope. This is our role, our duty. As one phase of the flushes was getting better, weepiness developed, calling for another remedy. So my second case is that of depression and flushes post-panhysterectomy. She's a 46-year-old lady, met me in November 2017. And she came in weeping and depression, didn't want to meet anyone. She did not tell anyone of the hysterectomy, only her husband. No extended family was informed. She would control her tears in front of the husband, and she kept feeling, why was hysterectomy needed? Why were the ovaries removed? Was there anything more? And she had a lot of hot flushes, profuse perspiration, burning, and waves of heat rising up was her description of these hot flushes. Her medical history was she was already a case of deep vein thrombosis. She had fibroids and menorrhagia due to the blood thinners that was given for the deep vein thrombosis, and hence was advised hysterectomy. During the surgery, the ovaries had adhesions, and thus on the table, the surgeon decided and finished the panhysterectomy, which was done in October 2017. She met me in November 2017. She was treated for her emotional state with Natramune 1M based on her tendency of being a very close person, and with infrequent doses, Natramune was given. And Pulsatilla 0/3 was given in double dilution for her weepiness and the history of deep vein thrombosis for her emotional state. And truly, I thought this would solve everything. But the hot flushes didn't go. She needed Lachesis 1M and Viscum Album 30 for the hot flushes. She responded within a month for her emotional symptoms, but her hot flushes took 5 months to settle. She did not respond to usual medicines like amyl nitrosum or sepia or jabarandi, but finally settled with Viscum Album 30. When I paid attention to the description of a wave of burning like fire rising up from the legs. The Materia Medica reference is very clear in Viscum Album and Boric. A glow rises from the feet to the head, seems to be on fire. And climacteric complaints. Now, I'd like to give a little note on this. You know, when I was meeting late Dr. R.P. Patel, he had mentioned that he spoke about Viscum Album for epilepsy, and he said, you know, this aura, he had a case with this aura of this glow rising from the feet, and he said it has not been mentioned in the epilepsy aspect or in the head or anywhere else. It is just there in the extremities. You have to think how you can use your concomitants, and that was what made me think of Viscum Album. The third case is that of insomnia. Again, a lady of 48 years. She met me and she had insomnia since 1.5 years, and she was unable to fall asleep. Lots of old thoughts, lots of hot flushes at times. She had also suffering from menorrhagia and was considering a hysterectomy, and was going through her irregularity of menstrual cycle since 2 years. She also had painful boils all over the body. Mind you, this lady had really decided on the hysterectomy because her mother had gone through a hysterectomy, and she said, you treat me for my insomnia, I will deal with the menorrhagia with hysterectomy. She was very anxious mentally and very hurried. She wants everything completed immediately. And even as she's explaining it to someone, she would literally give the description that as I'm telling the house help what to do, she would end up doing it because she would think that the others are too slow in their comprehension. She was very loquacious and she would drift away in conversation and needed to be guided back often. As I said, her family history, mother went through hysterectomy. So mentally, she had decided that she was going through hysterectomy. There was nothing much in her physical generals. She was treated with Lachesis 1M fortnightly once. As an acute, she was given Isabina 4 times a day. The patient was on the same prescription from November 2015 till December 2017. In November 2015, she had a bulky uterus with fibroids, 1.7 centimeters, and an endometrial thickness of 10 mm. A premenopausal woman ideally should be around less than 5 mm. So in July 2016, her bulky uterus and fibroid remained the same, but the endometrial thickness came down to 6.6 mm. In March 2016 onwards, the patient started, her menstrual cycles started getting a little better. Sleep was a little better. June 2016, she was on iron supplements constantly, but those were stopped because her hemoglobin was 13.9. July 2016, she started to sleep well, sometimes excess. And if in deep sleep, she would take time to wake up, as she complained that the eyelids would feel heavy. Her final menstrual cycle was on October 2016. She was maintained on laxatives till 1 year of final menstrual period, that is October 2016. General condition improved, the endometrial thickness improved. Laxatives, as we know, as I mentioned, her mental concomitant was very clear, the loquacity and the hurried nature. The bulky uterus and fibroid did not reduce. However, there is a possibility of it becoming normal after menopause. As I said, she came in only for insomnia, very clearly stating, I don't want to be treated for the menorrhagia, but buy one, get one free types. She got a good result both in insomnia as well as menorrhagia with laxatives. And as I said, like our duty calls us, we helped her transit to a normal menopause. Again, laxatives, the references, there's a very interesting reference over here in the Materia Medica Pura, in the Encyclopedia of Medica Medica, is heavy morning sleep, will get up unwillingly. This is a curative action. And of course, Boric has the many references of derangement of time sense, sleepiness, yet cannot sleep. So laxatives was given her. It had many of the other hurried behavior, the loquacity really guided it, but it covered a lot of the other insomnia aspects also. And my last case here is that of anxiety, headaches, and hypertension. This is a slightly long case. She met me in July 2013. Her chief complaints were since 1.5 years, lots of anxiety, depression, fear of unknown, and negative thoughts. Now, the history was that her 12-year-old daughter had convulsions 1.5 years ago. Ever since, her sleep was poor, and she would keep waking up to check on the child. She had a lot of palpitations with anxiety frequently, headaches, frontal and temporal, recently diagnosed as a hypertensive and is on metoprolol, 50 milligrams once a day. Her menstrual cycles were irregular since 1 year. Her family history, her mother had breast cancer. The nature of the patient was she was very closed and she wouldn't share unless really prodded, very sociable, desires company, sentimental, will cry in movies openly, but with emotion she will bottle it up. She was always hurried, anticipates the worst when it comes to health, always been worried about the health of her own self and the family, and even before her daughter's incident. An additional information is that the patient's husband is a dentist. Now, her first visit reports in 2013 clearly states that the LH, FSH are high, so she was already entering her menopausal state. She responded to different medicines were given to her at different stages, like argentum nitricum 1M, Craticus 30-200, Ignatia 200, Oromet 200. Intercurrents like laxacis, staphysagria, and glonine were used. This is a very rough gist of when I used what. Whenever argentum nitricum was given when there was a lot of anxiety with palpitations and diarrhea. Craticus was basically given to help with the BP. Ignatia when there was depression associated with the anxiety. Oromet when there was the BP was fluctuating. I will come to that in the next slide. When there was depression and BP fluctuations. Laxacis when there was a lot of erraticity in the menstrual cycle. Eventually, the menses stopped in 2016. The anxiety and BP fluctuations. So when there was a lot of fluctuations and different symptoms is when laxacis came in. Staphysagria was given when there was an emotional suppression, and Glonoin was given when there were sun headaches between 2017 and 2018. That is the year immediately after her menstrual cycle stopped. So these are some notes, the salient features of this particular case. As I said, it is a long case. So from 2016 January to August, her BP was fluctuating around 140/100 and then came down to 120/90. This was the time her twin children, that one child who had a convulsion had a twin brother. The twin children were giving their 10th standard board exams. There was also a financial strain during the same year because some money got stuck in an apartment which didn't get completed. Her menstrual cycle slowly became very erratic at this point, scanty, and stopped by 2016 end. 2017 to 2018, there were a lot of sun headaches. And 2018 and 2019, she shifted to a new apartment. She took 10 months to adjust to the new environment. She had a lot of pent-up emotions and a quarrel with the sister because the sister got burnt with a gas cylinder bursting in her during the housewarming ceremony. So this created a lot of friction, and she was just not happy with the new apartment. So her MetXL journey, BP was 150/100 when it was diagnosed in 2013, and she was already taking the medicines when she met me, and she was stable at 130/90 mm of Hg, where she was on MetXL 50 mg once a day. In May 2014, MetXL was reduced to 25 milligrams by her physician as the BP was stabilizing at 120/80. In February 2015, MetXL was reduced to alternate days in consultation with the physician. Her general physician was not at all happy, but the patient requested and made it alternate days. March 2015, MetXL was decreased to weekly twice after she consulted me. Her BP was stable at 120/80 mm of Hg. Emotionally, she was more stable. 2016 January, MetXL was decreased to weekly once. General physicians suggested just stop it because this is no use. But the patient was very anxious, and I also mentioned that 2016 was a very emotionally tough year with already an anxious person, children doing board exams, financial strain. So 2016 was a tough year for her. 2016, 2017, she sailed through. 2018, the patient was confident enough to reduce the MetXL on her own, further to once in 2 weeks, and then slowly by August 2018, she stopped MetXL. Her BP was stable at 120/80 or even 110/70. This is a chart of what the role of after the sex hormones are over, what happens to a postmenopausal woman in hypertension, whether BMI changes in the estrogen androgens, and the BMI can lead to the whole pathophysiology of hypertension coming up. But what is a higher perspective here, what our previous speaker also spoke about, is the emotional stress. The emotional stress can be the precursor to any of this, and which is why I say that it is very, very important for us to handhold a woman through this menopausal transition, because different scenarios will crop up, different scenarios of life. She is a woman in this age is sandwiched between dealing with geriatrics and teenage children. If she has time for herself, great, and little time for the spouse, fantastic. So this is where a woman is a sandwich in this area. So it is important that the emotional status of the person is literally handheld at this point. For her, I use the green climacteric scale, and her first visit score was score 18, where the symptoms we took were her heartbeat was heart was beating quickly and strongly. She was tense, nervous, difficulty in sleeping, anxiety, panic attacks, unhappy, depressed, headaches, and muscle joint pains were taken into consideration. This scale shows where she was in her first visit in November 2013 and how she fluctuated. If you can see 2016 and 2000, this whole period of 15 to 17, how she fluctuated. And then slowly she came down again and stabilized in 2004, by 2019. She comes occasionally and she's absolutely stable, no longer on any hypertensive medication. Now, As I said, this was a curiosity study for me. So I said, okay, let me see what all were my observations for this study. So the most important time, I found that the patient will reach out to us at the age of 40 to 45. This is the time maximum cases come to us. And this is that quick intervention is needed here. Then they do come at around 45 to 50 and gradually it comes down. The most common presentations, the 5 most common that I saw in my clinic was first and foremost was hot flushes. The second was constipation. And the third was anxiety palpitations. Frankly, I expected menorrhagia, but this was what I was actually seeing. Many drugs covered the symptoms, but what again came out was 4 drugs were covering most of the symptoms and most of the concomitants. Those were lachesis, pulsatilla, calcarea carb, and amyl nitrosum. This shows the top 4 remedies, the coverage of these presentations, that is lachesis and pulsatilla. Most often we saw lachesis, pulsatilla, except in hot flushes where pulsatilla didn't help much. But again, well, amyl nitrosum and lachesis help well. And otherwise, it was a lot of lachesis and pulsatilla. So from a remedy perspective, this is I understand these better with pie charts. So lachesis was most useful when it came to hot flushes and menorrhagia. Now, this is what I say, each becomes a concomitant to the other. So these are certain aspects when these are you see this combination coming up, we notice they are all part of the menopausal syndrome, but their intensity gravitates them to each other and makes them concomitants. So lachesis worked when there was a lot of hot flushes, menorrhagia, insomnia. Pulsatilla helped greatly when it came to menorrhagia and constipation and insomnia. I'm coming back to pulsatilla. One very interesting factor is usually we do associate pulsatilla with amenorrhea. But what was very interesting is that these were some of these cases where there was amenorrhea and then the menorrhagia, which is typical of menopause, of the menopause transition, the anovulatory cycles, and then the thickening of the endometrium, and then the bleed. Calcarea carb worked beautifully when it came to menorrhagias, and amyl nitrosum for hot flushes and insomnia. So there were many different diagnoses. The diagnosis ranges were very many, but of course, many of the cases fell under the hypothyroid and the fibroid cases. Miasmatically, we saw most of them being SORA and psychotic, some very few in the syphilitic stage. Again, a good soil for us. This is just a reaffirmation. We are all very familiar with homeopathic's wide therapeutic range. So I've just taken the top 2. Lachesis covered 13 cases of hypothyroidism. Calcarea carb and amyl nitrosum covered 5 cases, pulsatilla 8. When it came to fibroids, lachesis covered 7, calcarea carb 2, pulsatilla 1, amyl nitrosum 3. So basically, we do not need to get stuck with the diagnosis because all the medicines are capable of covering these diagnoses. So the wide therapeutic range of homeopathy is seen in menopause transition. So the results, these were determined as follow: 30 cases of each of the 5, and improved where symptoms were better in frequency and intensity, and if the pathology was present, it still remained. Cured where symptoms disappeared completely and pathology was also better. The same was status quo where symptoms and pathology all remained status quo, and deteriorated where the symptoms were aggravated. And the results were beautiful because we found the improved was 61%, cured was 19%, same was 19%, and deterioration just 1%. The split up is given here. So the relationship of age and response, this was another factor which is very important, is just like the patients came in between 40-45, so also their response level was best at 40 to 45 and then going back to 46 to 50. So what we understand from all these different charts is that from the Similarman chart, there were actually 58 remedies. But the top 4 remedies were clearly covering most of the complaints pretty highly. The results table showed a great scope for homeopathy in menopause transition, with 61% being improved, 19% of cure, so an 80% positive response. Age and response table, the best results were between 40 to 45, highlighting the fact that an early intervention is essential. Miasmatic understanding of the various diagnoses seen during menopause transition, we saw that predominantly it was SORA and psychosis. Because of the hypersensitivity, again, of SORA. Miasmatic understanding of the remedies, there were 4 remedies, Lachesis, Pulsatilla, Calcarea carb are all polycrests. So they were covering all the miasms, Lachesis being more psychotic and Calcarea and Pulsatilla more soric and psychotic. Smaller remedies, from the cases as well as the study, the small remedies like amyl nitrosum and viscomalbum have an equally large role to play in management of menopausal symptoms. So if I come back to this concomitants, the aphorism 103 and the protocol, we understand that this is a phase of a wide range of symptoms and each symptom becomes a concomitant to the other. But there are so many symptoms. As I said, each woman has a different story and each month can be a different set of symptoms for the same woman. So you can very easily get widely lost in this wide supply of concomitants. And hence the study showed some medicines had a higher affinity to cover most of the symptoms and the concomitants, giving the thought process of a protocol. Of course, a protocol has a lot of different steps as to what is step 2. If this does not happen, what is step 3? I would not want to restrict ourselves to all of that because homeopathy has individuality as its foundation. What was also seen is anxiety, hot flushes, and insomnia are like a trio. And if there is a predisposition to anxiety, it heightens all the symptoms. So aphorism 103 is an understanding of SORA from many single patients. Anti-sorics came up from remedies of several patients studied. Menopause transition is a wide variety of symptoms. Whether it is for the same individual or for a different individual, it is a wide range of symptoms. Hence, we do need a widely applicable remedies for quick intervention. And so, friends, we know that menopause transition is different for every woman. We also know the fact that every woman will go through menopause transition at some stage of their lives, whether natural or surgical. It is our duty to help them transit safely, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Early intervention and quick result give stability to the patient. Some remedies like Lachesis, Calcarea carb, Pulsatilla, and amyl nitrosum had a higher capacity of addressing multiple symptoms and the concomitants together. This formed the basis of a protocol. As I said, I cannot go away from the individuality of a homeopathic prescription, cannot be overseen here. And that is highlighted by the case of viscomalbum, where the nitty-gritty of that particular symptom needed to be addressed. But it is a good starting point to address menopause transition. This field actually lies open to a lot of research. The more we think, menopause is not new. Menopause has already been worked upon many times. Every doctor is treating it, but the perspective of it is definitely beyond the uterus and ovaries alone. There is much more to menopause transition than only amenorrhea and menorrhagia. And hence, we need to look at this segment as a very important segment. I'm very happy to share that, yes, my paper Homeopathy for Menopause Transition and what Dr. Hegde mentioned, was recognized by the first paper. This was in 2018, Homeopathy for Menopause Transition was recognized in Lucknow, and then later my paper for mental health in menopause transition was recognized in Bangalore, after which I was invited to be a panelist for metabolic syndrome by the Chennai Menopause Society. And I must say thank you, Dr. Hegde, for giving me this opportunity, and Karnataka Qualified Homeopathic Doctors Association for letting me speak on my favorite subject, menopause transition. What piqued my interest was really the disease monograph of CCRH and the Chennai Menopause Society's work where I was inspired to document, and even the curiosity came up from this monograph. I'm always indebted to late Dr. R.P. Patel and Dr. Matani, who have always guided me. Dr. Jayesh Sangvi, who's my mentor till date, my footsteps started with him. Of course, Dr. Venkatram and Dr. Jagada are always there for my guidance. There's a note that I would like to share here because this means a lot to me, friends, that the Kopika Foundation for Homeopathy has a beautiful library, and I lost every book of mine in the Chennai floods of 2015. And this library came to my rescue every now and then when I need it. My friends, Dr. Jayashree and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi, who guide me on gynecology often. And I must say I'm blessed. I'm really blessed with a team in Chennai with my doctors, Dr. Nila, who has now started her own clinic, and my Dr. Smriti, Dr. Preeti, and my secretary, Sukuba, who are there to compile the data and taught me how to do everything organized. My patients who with confidence subjected themselves to homeopathic treatment under me, and my family who have encouraged me at every stage of my medical career. I say this specifically being a woman, that this is a huge step by them, and they tolerate my hours of absence, whether it is a Sunday or whether it is any day. These are some of the references for this particular presentation.
Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I think very elaborative and a quick presentation. I hope you have to run fast to cover the time, but really it was a very interesting. You can stop sharing, madam.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you, sir.
we have discussed so many issues of the menopause, and as you said rightly, every menstrual period during menopause is a new cycle, new lady, and new complaints, and it is very difficult to tackle that. I think you have brought so many issues in a short period. If any questions are there, please put it in the chat box. 5 minutes time is there. Before that, during that time, I request our patron, Dr. B.D. Patel sir, to give some concluding remarks on the speech. After these remarks, any question, if a valid and valuable questions are there, I will select that. And after that, please, because also go through the questions in the chat box. Sir, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm seeing Dr. Dora. Is she still there with us?
Yeah, she's there, sir.
Okay. Dr. Dora, thank you very much for a presentation which shows the practical results with the instruments. See, many times it happens, we keep on telling we cured this case, that case, this case. But the modern medicine, so-called modern medicine people want a documentary evidence. And such papers and such researches will help us more and more to prove that it is not only simple medicines or dilution, but it definitely shows an effect which can be measured with the latest equipments. Wonderful thing. And we would request you to do more tests and publish it, especially in the magazines, Lancet. Homeopathic magazines, anybody will publish it. But especially the allopathic magazines need to publish such results, because there are a lot of articles against homeopathy in many of the countries and many of the allopathic magazines. So this is our request from the KQHDA that such presentations should be presented and papers published in those things. Very nice way that you did it. The arterial variation, that was great. Now coming to Dr. Khushali Gambhir.
Khushali Gambhir.
Khushali Gambhir, na? Khushali Gambhir, yeah. See, the name itself is contradictory. Khushali cannot be Gambhir, and Gambhir cannot be Khushali. Am I right?
It is balance. It is called balance. Anything in excess is not right. Not Ignatia, balance.
I was thinking because she is Gambhir, she'll be talking very less and all that. But definitely I should say she's very, very expressive. And every point what she spoke reminds me of only Apado Modi Bhai, because that man also speaks very exclusively and on each and every subject topic very clearly. There is nothing ambiguity in that. And that's what we saw in Khushali's presentation. And she presented very nicely. And I think your family should grow. People like you should grow more and more with a lot of presentations like this. Very nice presentation. And with this, I cannot stop. Definitely, I would request Dr. Hegde and others to pursue you to be with us as a life member, because we want you to be on our panel. Dr. Khushali, are you listening to me?
Of course, I'll be there. I'll touch base with him as to how to do so, and I'll be your. Of course, I'll be most happy.
Definitely, doctor. There are two girls we have.
You will inform her.
Yeah, Dr. Tripti and Shubha will be after you. Don't worry, they are listening to me. But wonderful thing. So local should be vocal. Vocal should be local. So you would like more and more presentations of you and more presentations with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir,
for giving this.
Yeah, Dr. Dora, I think there is a question for you. Is this a similar psychiatric studies on difference between resting heart rates in aggressive behavior?
I have answered in the chat that HRV tests can be done to all kinds of patients. And it really shows the change of the heart rate, even when we think of something or we feel something different. So the test is very sensitive. And this is one of the challenging points to prove that the homeopathic remedy has long-term effects. Because when the patient comes, so many things happen and his heart rate variability changes so many times. That's why we made the experiment with full rest and asking the patient not to think on any problems to see the pure physiological effect.
Oh.
But aggression will definitely change the heart rate.
Yeah. Thank you, madam. Thank you. Dr. Khushali, there is a question for you. Is there any effect of thermals can be considered by selecting these remedies?
Thermals will add value because of the concomitant. So if there is a thermal, if for example, when there is a menorrhagia and if it is a chilly patient, of course, calcarea carb will come in higher. It will have a better value. So thermals will definitely have, but when it comes to smaller remedies like the amyl nitrosum, I didn't use any thermals or anything. It was just their materia medica and the repertory that guided me.
Okay, thank you, madam. Thank you sharing your experiences. Both of you, I think you are with us for a long period. Thank you for with us in the KQHDA. Now I request our chairman, Dr. H.L. Swami, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yeah, continue.
So, first of all, I thank our first speaker, Dr. Dora Pachova, for such a wonderful initiative. The work she done, it took a lot of labor, and it is a one of its kind of type of the research work she done, and she presented very elaborately. So the selection of remedies and its action, all that, it was wonderful work. Thank you, madam. Thank you for being with us. So, and your hard work, really we appreciate, and we let you, this will inspire the younger generation, lot of other doctors to take up these similar works. Thank you, madam.
Yes, that's good.
And our second speaker, Dr. Khushali Gambhir. So as Dr. Patel sir was telling, you are Khushal bhi hai aur Gambhir bhi hai. And the topic also, the subject also like that one, the work you done is wonderful, and sticking to the classical method of homeopathy, but it was practical also. See, sometimes when they become classical, they forget the practical. When they become practical, they forget the classical, but you balance the both. That's why I told you are Khushal bhi hai or Gambhir bhi hai. So you've done a wonderful work, and you are very frank enough to accept sometimes you given the multiple remedies in some single cases, and I really hats off. You've done a wonderful work. Same thing I request this one, our life members and the other viewers to follow this one and do take up some research work and it was a very good presentation. Dr. Khushali Gambhir ji, namaskar. Thank you. Thank you, ma. Thank you very much. We wanted to see you more oftenly, be a part with us, okay, part of the family. So I thank our president, Dr. Sripad Hegde sir, for selecting such a wonderful speakers. Only thing is, it was a great marathon. So both are the research papers, and one would have been sufficient for the whole 2 hours. And that type of things you done it. It's wonderful. It was a good remembering Sunday. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I thank our patron who started with Shankanath, and he is our Bhishma Pitama. So for our KQSDA. So, and he with this the inspiring words, and he done a nice conclusion also. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I thank all the participants who attended this seminar, webinar, and who sacrificed for one Sunday afternoon, and we stayed with us. So usually what happens now, these this type of presentation, sometimes you'll get bored, but today we had a great speakers, even though it's a research papers. So we could not even let off a single minute. They caught us with this one. So I did not see how the time just flies. So I thank all of you for patience hearing, being with us. Thank you very much. I thank the secretary, Dr. Shubha. I thank all the office bearer of KQSDA, and thank you one and all. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Swami. Thank you one and all. I hope we'll continue the discussion. Please be with us. Thank you visiting us. Thank you one and all for all the purpose. Sir, we can leave.
Yeah. Do you have any other talk, Dr. Hegde?
No.
Immediately after this?
No, sir. We'll announce later.
No. Do you have any other talk, discussion somewhere else? Are you speaker? Right. Okay. With this we end. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.